Now, those of you who are subscribed know that I always want to give you the best educational content in order for you to achieve your goals, have as many friends, as many social circles in your life, wherever you are in the world, in order to get new opportunities, right? Relationships, friendships, or business opportunities, all that good stuff. So I decided that I'm going to give you my course for completely free. I used to sell this course and now I'm building a new one, obviously. But I want to give you this because this has a lot of good information and I've helped tons of people through this course. And also remember, if you want to have one-on-one guidance from myself, one-on-one coaching, then there's a link in the description. If it's something for you, then you can check it out. But no pressure though, obviously. So enjoy the course. I hope it's going to help you. And always remember, blend in, stand out, and belong anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, this may be the most important course that you have in this community. Networking. This, if you master this lets you go anywhere in the world and build a network. So many people struggle. I remember when I used to live in Paris. I had so many people come up to me in Paris. They were like, man, it's so hard to meet people here, blah, blah, blah. That's just not true. If you have the networking in place, it is such a game changer because so many people don't, right? So if you're the person that can just go to a place where people are networking, but everybody's in their own groups or they need alcohol to socialize, you can take advantage of that. So you don't have a lot of competition if you get the networking done. That's why it's so important, you know? So just what we're gonna get through this course is there are some basic points I want to get through. Then we'll look at how you can create a social circle from nothing. This is especially important when you go somewhere for a long time. This is all the things that I used when I moved to Paris. I didn't know anyone, and then I just met a lot of people. I built my own social circle, my own network, and this has gotten me so far in life. Then the business networking, a lot of the points that I'm going to make in how to create a social circle from nothing will also be applied to business networking, but there are a lot of things that you need to look out for and where you need to invest your money to really make money, basically, or make money out of your network. That's basically it, or how to meet the right people to make money out of it. So let's get through it. This is, as I said, probably the most important course that you have access to in this community. So maybe get a pen, maybe get a piece of paper and write everything down, because this information that I'm going to give you, you really need to get this into your head. If there's any course that you should not skip, it's this one. So let's tackle it together. Now let's get to the first basic points. You have to keep these things in mind. So the first thing is there are unlimited prospects. So imagine you're at a place, right? Imagine you're at a networking event or you're at some bar or whatever. Always keep in mind that you should not be worried if you speak to someone and you fucked up or you said something that was awkward or whatever. Don't break your head over it, really. There are unlimited prospects. There are so many people, if you take Paris for example, there are so many people each week moving to Paris. So many people that you could have potential partnerships with, be it business, be it romantic, be it friendly. Never get nervous because you thought, man, I fucked this up, man. Everybody's gonna think I'm a weirdo because for some, all these deprecating thoughts, you should just throw them all out the window because they're unlimited prospects. So that should put the pressure off of you, right? It should take it off of you. So never get hung up on those negative thoughts that, some people are gonna look weird at you. Unlimited prospects. The other thing is, most people's lives are boring. Probably yours too, to be honest. And this is such a great thing for you because if you are the person that's social, if you are the person that can network, you are almost like the savior in those social situations. Because every time, imagine how many times, probably you were one of these, because I was one of these people. When I was at a social networking event or just a social event, right? When I was shy back in the day, when I was a little bit introverted and all of that, I always hoped that somebody would talk to me, because I had this sense of pride, which was not really pride, it was kind of just insecurity, or I didn't have enough confidence in myself, where I would never go talk to people. But when somebody came to me, all of a sudden I was social, right? So imagine how many people think like that. Now, imagine if you're the person that goes up to people and then everybody's like, oh yeah, here's someone that comes to me, so now I'm open to talk. And you're gonna speak to so many people and you'll leave an impression, hopefully. And then that's how you build your network. That's like the basis. That's how you can get to, talking to people, and that's how the snowball gets rolling, right? So then be the person that listens. This is actually really hard to do, because I do that as well. Sometimes I talk to someone, I have a conversation, and while they speak, I have a point to make, and then I just wait for them to talk and until their sentence is over, and then I just try to give my point. So it's like everybody's speaking, right? But you never connect. So if you are the person that tries to connect on what they're saying, and even, really listen to it, immerse yourself in what they said, and then what can you say about this? How do you feel about what they just said? And then make a connection between yourself, who you are as a person, what you know, and what they said, right? Don't try to argue. It's almost like arguing, I have a point to make and then you have a point to make. Try to immerse yourself and try to make a point together, if that makes sense, right? Then don't change depending on who you're talking to. This is just to be authentic, right? If you're talking to someone who, for example, is a star, right? You should never get nervous. Actually, that's weird if you get nervous if there's a star in front of you. This is my opinion, though. But always be yourself and always be authentic, because people, they just feel that. We as humans, we can just feel those micro emotions, those micro expressions, right? So always be authentic with whatever you're doing. And that does also mean that sometimes you split the opinions of people. If you're always authentic, you know that you're being authentic when you have people that really like you and people that really dislike you. If everybody is like, yeah, he's a good guy, or she's a good girl, whatever, then you're not being authentic, in my opinion. If you are really authentic, then you split the people in half. And in my opinion, if you have that, if some people really like you and some people really dislike you, then you're doing the right stuff. Then you're being authentic, right? Then also have a high, fun, and positive energy. You don't have to be cringe, you don't have to be but more in a positive energy, that you have energy in your chest, right? You speak your chest out, you have a lot of energy in the sense that you're not tired, you're not slurring your words, etc. But you're highly engaged and you always get inputs, you always try to talk to people, you never want to, be that guy who wants to be mysterious or whatever. No, you're always engaging, and that's what I mean with positive energy. Never be hysteric though. Always be calm, high, like high energy. Don't be high, and always keep it that way, because that's how you attract people. And then wherever you're going, and you come up with that high energy and positive energy, it's so easy to talk to people and to let them into your circle, so to speak, into your physical circle. So always practice that. Then always act like you belong. Yeah, it's basically the same thing, because when you have a positive energy and you're confident, then you're already someone that feels like they belong, and that's also how you should really feel, right? But even if you're a place where you know nobody and then everybody is in their groups and whatever, act like you belong. Even if at first you don't, you should, during the evening or during the social event, find your place. And the place you want to find is within, not with a certain group. Don't measure your success on how many groups you've talked with, right? It's just a mental thing. Just be there. You are worthy to be there. You are confident. You have a positive energy, and you're just ready to talk to people, make connections, and everybody should be so happy to have the opportunity to meet you, right? Think that way, but in a humble way, if you know what I mean. Don't try to build up your ego too much. A little bit is fine, but not too much. Then, basically, some wise men once said that: stand straight with your shoulders back. It's just the same thing. Let's like act like you belong and have a confident energy, high, positive, and confident energy. Stand straight. Force yourself to stand straight and with your shoulders back. And at some point, it will, you'll just automatically do that. But at first, you probably have bad posture, honestly, and you have to force yourself to really do that. So keep pushing. Always remind yourself to put your shoulders back, because if you have your shoulders back and your chest out, it is something you have to do actively. So this man once said that it is kind of like a burden. So you train yourself to have a burden, to carry some weight, and this gives you confidence because every day you're doing something that needs effort, right? But we don't have to get too deep into the psychological stuff. I don't think that's why you're here. So just remember, always stand straight with your shoulders back. Always have a good energy, high positive energy. Be confident, act like you belong. Be authentic, and remember, so many prospects are coming in and out each day. Never be too attached to one evening or to one social groups. And if you're that person that's authentic and doing all of these things, then people will be so happy, because what did you learn? Most people's lives are boring. Social awareness. So important as well. Now I want you to really pay attention to this one, especially detect the social dynamics. What does that mean? So the more you try to network, the more you try to build your circle, the more you try to talk to people, you'll kind of pick up all of the reactions that people have while you're talking to them, when you say something, how they react to that. Or sometimes you come into a circle and you talk to a woman and her boyfriend's there, he's jealous. There are so many aspects, so many situations that can occur. So this is so important that you can detect all of those micro expressions, which is part of the social dynamics, right? So how should you approach this? When I was younger, I used to watch those body language courses, right? Like if a girl touches her hair, she's into you. All of that doesn't really matter. The only thing you should do is just focus on output. Talk to so many people as possible, but also be attentive. Look at the reactions of people. Be concentrated. It should be something that you do actively, right? Talk to people, look at their reaction, and at some point that'll just be natural. At some point, if you go into a circle, you already feel the atmosphere. You already feel like you're intruding something. If you're intruding a serious conversation, or if you're intruding some bad energy or whatever, you'll get to the point where you can just know that, and you'll already walk to the better group. You already walk to the group with better energy, etc., etc., etc. So my point of this one is detect social dynamics is be attentive while you're at the social events. Be really attentive. All right. So the next step is interact with what people are saying. This goes back to the other point I was making in the last video. Whenever somebody is telling you something, try to be engaging and ask them questions which are a little bit more specific, right? So if somebody's traveling, or somebody said, oh, I just went to Italy, I just went to Rome, then that's just basic stuff, right? But then you can say, oh, have you been to the Colosseum? I've heard like it's really crazy, and it's really big, whatever, Just engage with what they are saying, and that creates a connection already. You don't have to get as deep in the beginning, right? You don't have to, if they say, yeah, I've been to Rome, then you shouldn't see, oh yeah, has it been romantic? Have you gone with the wife, or have you gone with the children? Blah, blah, blah. That's not necessary. Just try to get a connection as a hook, and then from there you can go deeper and deeper and deeper. You can expose more of yourself, you can talk about yourself as well, and then you have that interaction. So interact with what they are saying and go deeper into what they just said, and that's how you build connection and rapport with a person. Then avoid confrontation and always sidestep an argument if you can, and always try to tell them, I'm on your side, right? That happens a lot in social situation. You'll realize is whenever a subject comes up, like politics, for example, it always goes into a direction where you're confronted with something. Like you have to take a side, which you should always avoid. Now, the best thing you can do to avoid this is basically just say, oh yeah, I get what you're saying. Damn, I've never thought about it that way. Okay, I didn't know that, you know? And then you always try to switch the subject. Always. Never try to engage in a conversation where you have to win, where you either win or lose. Never. Always sidestep. And then you can always just say, so, oh yeah, that's so crazy. You put the energy down and they say, and then you just start a new subject, right? That's really important. The other one is never embarrass someone, because everybody will remember. Everybody will remember. And this is so stupid to me, because there are so many people in social dynamics, you know, they have the upper hand, and then they're in a situation where they can do so many positive things. They could bring so many people onto their boat, right? But they decide to misuse that power and put somebody else down. This is the stupidest thing. You never have to do that, because it doesn't make you look good. So the biggest problem with that is people are resentful. Even if they won't show it, if you try to embarrass somebody in front of a group of people, and you actually do, this will be detrimental to you at some point if you're ever coming in contact with that person, because they will be resentful. Even years. I've seen some stories. So if you have a problem with somebody, the first thing is always confront them, you know, when it's just you two guys or you two girls, whatever, because it lets them save their face, right? You don't have to you don't have to confront them in a group discussion, because then they will also feel like they either have to win or lose. So you just try to, you know, change the subject if they try to embarrass you, for example, and then you just put them aside and just tell them, hey man, I don't really appreciate that, so please stop saying these kind of things, all right? And then you smile, you know, smile a little bit, and then they should react positively, because you show confidence. But you also show them that, hey, I'm on your side, I don't want confrontation. But if you keep doing that, then it'll have consequences. So that's how you avoid problems, you know, being created in those group dynamics. So let them save face in discussion always. That's also if you know somebody is wrong as well, then try to just say something which isn't really a statement. You can just say, oh man, that's interesting, yeah. Don't try to be right in a discussion unless it really gives you something. But 99% of the times in social situations, it's not really the case. So always try to avoid confrontation, or avoid, you know, discussions where you're either right or wrong. So always avoid that, and try to build a connection with all of those people that you meet. And as I've just said that, if you want something from somebody, you know, maybe you've met somebody who you know has a contact which is really important to you, always build a connection first. Try to, you know, be genuine, always be authentic in general, but always build a connection so that when they give you something, they don't feel like being misused, if you know what I mean. Because you've given them something, you've given them connection, and you also, I hope so, you also genuinely are thankful for the connection you just had with that person, and then you can ask for something. That's always a possibility. But the chance is much higher that they do something for you if you've already built a connection. And even better is if you also value if you also offer value. Like, let's say this person says, oh yeah, I'm going to Rome next week, I don't know what I'm going to do. Then you can tell them, oh yeah, I have a friend who lives in Rome, maybe I can hook you up with that person, blah, blah, blah. Whatever you have, if you offer value in front and then you ask them for a favor, then it's much easier. And most of the times they also do that favor for you. So write all of that down. I'm talking a lot, I'm spewing a lot, so you should really write those things down. So let's go on to the next one. Speaking, that is so important. It's probably one of the best things you can learn, you know, to improve your life. In my case, obviously I'm speaking English right now, but I'm sure you can hear that it's not my first language, and that's fine, you know. But I feel like you should always improve your English, mainly unless you never speak English, unless you're maybe in China, you only speak Mandarin, whatever. Always improve it, because even though I've heard English my whole life, even though most of the things I'm consuming are in English, I still know that I'm not able to express myself like I am able to in my mother tongue, which is a problem, because most of the people that I interact with, they only speak English. Most of the people that I network with we always speak English, right? So how do you improve that? What I always do, and that has helped me a lot because my English has improved a lot, even though it's not perfect right now. Whenever I hear something while I'm consuming stuff, right? Whenever I hear a word that I haven't used for a long time or haven't used in a long time, or if it's a word that I've never heard before, I always write it down. So I have a long list in my notes, just in my phone notes. I have like maybe 200 words, more than 200 words that I've written down, and then every day I'll look at these words with a translation and put into context, right? So now I'm building my vocabulary of that language, and with time, it'll take time, obviously, but with time, maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years, you can get to a level where you're really going to be able to express yourself in the minute details. You know what I mean? And this is when you have the power. This is when you have the power to really, direct social dynamics. Control where a conversation is going, while also evading certain points, if you know what I mean. So you'll really have control over a social situation. Now, this is much harder if it's not your first language, right? So you really have to proactively try to improve your English, even though you probably think, yeah, I can already speak English just because I can communicate with everybody. That's not enough. You're losing out on so much control if you don't try to improve your English every day. All right. Also, the other another way you can do that is also listen to good speakers. Politicians, maybe not the best speakers, not the best example, but the way they phrase things, the way they use their language, to say something in a specific way while also evading certain problematic situations. Politicians are really the best at it. And other than that, just authors, you should read a lot, and just so you can expand your vocabulary. And also, if you read, that's also much better because you can read in context, and then you'll learn phrases as well. So you'll learn how people talk, how people use these words exactly, and then that's also how you improve your English. Then obviously talk loud and with high energy. That's more of a mental thing. You should always talk with confidence. That's clear. Then put yourself in a situation where you need to speak. That also goes back. That's also in my language course, some of these things. But when you do something, you don't necessarily improve, right? So you have to do something constantly and then always review. How can you review something while you're doing it, right? That's sometimes hard. So what you should do if you really want to have some great improvements is you should record yourself talking. And you can just take that's what I did for some time, right? You can just put on a random word. You can ask ChatGPT or just generate a random word, and then you try to speak about that. Whatever it is, it doesn't really matter, but you try to use, especially the new vocabulary that you just learned or the words that you've written down, you try to use these words, and then with time, you'll improve using these words, and then at the same time, you always add new words into your vocabulary. That's how you improve the language to a point where you can really use it to really express yourself, to really express what's in your heart and in your mind, and you want to get to that point, right? Then talk with your hands. I also do that. I mean, I always did that, but that's just so important. If you speak with your hands, it means you have something important to say. It means you're not shy. You don't try to avoid taking space. No. You are here. You are present. You touch the table. You touch the people sometimes. If you fret the social dynamic and you know that it's fine, you can touch the people on your shoulder, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Use your hands. Otherwise, you're wasting so much potential because you speak with your hands as well, like the Italians. So, touch your surroundings. That's just what I said. Take up space as well. Don't be obnoxious, Don't try to take up space just to appear more powerful, because when people do that, you see that. But if you're just comfortable, by all means, man spread, bro. Like, take up space just the way you are comfortable. It's more of don't try to not take up space. I think that's more well put, because some people they hide, because they don't have enough confidence, so they try to not be judged, they try to not be seen. So take up space by all means. Be comfortable, just like in your living room, and that will also put yourself at ease, and then people, will enjoy talking to you way more because you're in a good energy, and then they'll be in a good energy too. So always try to improve your language that you'll network with, probably English. Some other no-goes, so never do these. First of all, never be self-deprecating. Never. This is so cancerous. If you go to a social event, there is always this voice. I mean, I had that, in my beginning stages of trying to network, I always had this voice of, trying to put me down. For some reason, this voice tried to put me down. This voice did not want me to meet people. This is being self-deprecating. You have to let go of that. So even if there's a voice, who says like, man, no, you're not good enough to, why would they be interested in you? Why? You're just some guy here, man, you have no friends, you just came alone. Why would they? Just cut all of that out. Just see it as another person. Like, you are not that person. You are that person who wants to go there, who is ready to go there, who's confident, who belongs there. You're not that voice. So never be self-deprecating. Almost take that voice and remove it from your identity. Imagine it's like a parasite, so you have to ignore the parasite, all right? The next thing is never be needy and don't show your insecurities. Obviously, everybody has insecurities, right? And you should not ignore them. You should not try to act like they don't exist. But in social situations or when you go network, you should forget about them. You're allowed to forget about your insecurities from time to time, okay? Deal with your insecurities. Very important to know why you have certain insecurities, and that's sometimes hard to admit why you have certain insecurities, and then you should work on them, obviously. But while you're at some social events, just remember everybody is insecure in some way or another. Everybody. So just because you may have some insecurities doesn't set you apart from everybody else. So you might as well just forget them for a moment, because everybody else is trying to forget them as well. Because if you show your insecurities, if you show that you're needy and you need some social you need social acceptance, you need social confirmation, people will be so disgusted by you. Even, of course, they will not say that, but they will not want to have anything to do with you because they're trying to forget their insecurities. They want to be around confident people. And then now you're coming here like a poor dog, like a stray dog. Don't show your insecurities and forget them for an evening and deal with them in your day-to-day life as everybody should. To a point where I've already mentioned before is if somebody embarrasses you, you have to address it. You really have to address it, because otherwise people will not respect you. But do it privately and don't confront them in front of everybody, because as I said, then they'll be forced to fight back or take sides or save their face, right? So do it privately, do it with a smile, but also, shoulders back, chest out. Demand respect just by the way you're speaking. Speak calmly, but tell them, as I said before, hey, listen, man, you just said that, not really necessary, so I prefer you not say these type of things, all right? And then you can also smile at the end or whatever. Just make it lightly, but be serious about it. And most of the times, that's how you deal with these kind of things. Then negative self-image. It's basically the same as insecurities and being self-deprecating, but it's more of an identity problem, right? Negative self-image usually comes from trauma. It's part of our identity that we try to push away, but it sometimes comes back because we've never dealt with it. It's the same thing. You should know why you have your negative self-image, and that's why you should talk positively, even always positively about yourself. Like, don't say I'm poor, right? Don't say, fuck, I'm broke. Just say, okay, now I'm going to have money soon. It's obviously, you may say that's delusional, but if you always talk positively about yourself, even if they are half truth, right? It's so important, because then that's how you change your negative self-image into a positive one. It takes time. It's the small things, the way you talk to yourself, the way you watch yourself in the mirror, right? Focus on the positive things in life, the positive things that you're doing, and try to do them more. instead of focusing on the negative things and try to do them less, if you know what I mean. This is where it gets interesting, right? How can you create a social circle from nothing? It all starts with the right places. So I'll list some places where you can just go somewhere, you know, you can travel there and then you'll meet people right away. First is obviously hostels. Hostels, you get mixed into a dorm with different people, and then there are a lot of the times there are also events there, you know, like bar hopping or whatever it is. You know, you can cook something together with somebody and then you can go eat something. So that's really easy to get to know people. Then the other thing is bar hopping. Obviously, there are some bar hops in the hostels as well, but there are also events, you know, happening in the city where they just do the bar hopping without having to be a part of a hostel. This is also good if you're at another accommodation, Airbnb or whatever, or maybe you even live in the city, you want to connect and then you can join bar hoppings. If you don't want to join events, that's fine. Actually, the easiest thing to do is just to go bar hop yourself, if you know what I mean. So that doesn't have to be wandering here, wandering there, but one day you go there and one day you go to the other bar, and what you're looking for are student and dive bars. Okay. Now keep in mind, all of those places are where you can meet people to build your social circle, right? This is not business per se. You can meet people there where maybe at some point you'll do business with, but specifically for business, you can look at the other module. This is just how to find friends, right? So then the other one is clubs, although not my personal favorite. And yeah, the most important thing is where you go that you go to places where people want to be social, right? Obviously, you can approach during the day and stuff. That's fine as well. We'll get into that just in a second. But the best places are where people are already social, and then you implement those things that I showed you in the basic, and then we'll also look at how you can actually approach people and actually build your social circle. Now, initiating the conversation is really simple if you're at a hostel. If you're at a hostel, everybody's a traveler, right? People want to talk, people usually are not closed up, and so you can just say, oh, where are you from? And then they say some country, and then you play into the conversation. Maybe you've been to the country, or maybe you noticed something about them, or man, maybe it's the shoes, or man, the hair, whatever it is. Just initiate what we were talking about in the last videos. Initiate with what they are saying, and then that's how you make a connection, right? But it's really easy because there's not this, I mean, there's not a lot of weight if you just try to break the ice at a hostel, which is really nice. Then the more you know, the easier it is to hold a conversation. That's how much you know about the person, but also in general, right? Like, let's say you know a lot about history, right? So some person says, you know, they're from France, right? And then you can talk about the wars. Maybe you can talk about its history and make jokes with its history. The more you know, or the more you know about the political situation, or you can just say, oh, you're from France, your politics are stable right now, right? It doesn't matter. Like, do it, say it in a more charming way, obviously. But the more you know, the easier it is to connect with people, because most of the time people are ignorant to some extent, and then if you know stuff about them, then, you know, they'll think, oh, nobody knows this, how do you know this? And then that's how you already make a connection. And that's even better if you know things about places where not a lot of people go, right? And the easiest thing you can learn is just a few phrases in the language, right? So one time I met this Vietnamese guy at a hostel, and I could speak some Vietnamese, right? Because I'm really interested in it, in the communist history, me personally. So I know some stuff about Vietnam, and then I just introduced myself in Vietnam, you know, like Toi La, Nishat, Boi Sang. It's shit, you know. Obviously, I don't speak Vietnamese. I just learned this by heart. But he knew I didn't speak Vietnamese, but still, it was so cool for him, you know. Like, here's somebody who's interested in my culture. So, the more you know, the easier it gets. All right. Then approach during the day is also a really good option. It's just not the same, right? So you can approach during the gym. I would say, as a guy, approaching during the gym is one of the few places I would actually approach other guys, you know. There are some work cafes specifically where people go, you know, to use cafes as a workspace or general workspaces like WeWork. Then there's not a lot of stigma, you know, on trying to connect with other guys there. But Other than gym, I feel like it's awkward. I feel like you should not do that because when I've had that, guys coming up to me, but during the day it always feels like, like you're trying to get my number or what. It, for me, it's just not my thing. But the gym, you can comment on stuff, and there's always the same people coming, so they're already familiar with you. You can do a comments like, oh, like, oh, looking good today, man. Oh, man, that's crazy. I see you every day here. Like, that's so crazy. Where are you from? Whatever. You can just start the small talk. You have to master small talk to some extent. And then that's, as we said before, that's how you build a connection. Always think about the thing. Always remember the things that we were talking about and discussing in the prior video. And work cafes, you can, but you have to do it well, that it doesn't come off creepy. And that's just, I could get into it, but honestly, I would avoid it. And workspaces, that's fine. When you're at a coffee break, you can just talk to them. But work cafes, I would kind of avoid. So these are the easiest places, especially as a traveler. And keep those things in mind, like the last 3 points. Approach during the day you can at the gym. And the more you know, the easier it is. So always study, expand your mind. And then initiating a conversation is really easy when you're in those really social situations where people already want to be social, especially at hostels. And the hostels are also different because you can do that during the day, in comparison to bars or clubs. So let's get on to the next one. What are some apps that you can use as well? This is really nice if you use these apps before you even go to a place. So the first one is Couchsurfing, and we looked at the websites prior. You can use it as an app, right? And those are really good for meeting other travelers, backpackers, but also locals. Now the problem with locals is that most of the time it's not really the people that you're looking for. I mean, in my case, I'm 24 right now, so most of the people on there are 30 and above, right? And the locals that are on there. And I've rarely made a connection with anybody on Couchsurfing who was a local, except for people, that I stay with and use Couchsurfing for their couch. But other travelers, in my experience, who are my age and are traveling alone as well, who are just trying to meet new people, if you look through profiles, then you'll find somebody who is, you could connect with, and you might think that is cool. So use Couchsurfing. There's an option there to meet people right around your area, who are right now looking for a drink or looking for something to eat, and then that's really easy. Then Meetup is it's a meetup app actually, or it's a event activity app where you can do things from joining a sketching course for one day, but you can also join a bar hopping event. There's so many social events there. So during the day and during the evening. Now this is really crazy because the first week when I moved to Paris, I was 21 years old, and then I used this app and I joined a club for sketching. And this very day, I think it was my second day in Paris, right the day after I moved there. And then I met an artist. She was from Bulgaria. She moved to Paris a long time ago. We spoke French. And that was the first day, and we already connected so much. And that was also because I knew some communist history, right? For example, that's just an example from what I was talking before. And I spoke some Russian, and then we were already connecting so quickly. And also the fact that we were both sketching. She was a professional artist, and she also, did fashion for brands like Jean-Paul Gaultier and stuff. So I was just this guy, using this app, didn't think anything of it, and then I went there, and now I still know her. I still know her very well. Every time I go to Paris, we meet up, we talk. That's just because I used this app, Meetup. And then obviously there are a lot of different people that I've also met, and a lot of tourists. And Meetup also, for example, let's say you're in the tech industry, there are a lot of tech meetups as well, or startup meetups as well in the Meetup app. So you can always find your community, right? So Meetup is really nice. Then apps for a specific city. That depends on which city you're in, obviously. But for Paris, for example, there are two apps which I use, which is called Socializus, and then also Shotgun. I don't know if Shotgun is only for Paris or globally, but they're apps where you can always see what kind of events are happening in your city and where to go, and sometimes where the locals are, etc. Then there are friends and dating apps. So the last one, Mifi, or however you pronounce it, is one that I actually tested just a while ago. And the problem with these friends, global friends meeting apps, is just that there are a lot of creeps there, or just a lot of people just wanting to text and not really want to meet up, or not even want to meet up, but create a connection, maybe a network. But I met like 2 or 3 people that I've eventually met with, and yeah, I mean, it was cool. I feel like if I would use it longer, then at some point, I will meet people who maybe will bring a lot of value to my life. But generally, friends apps are so in my experience. Now, dating apps are different, because dating apps, obviously, you both give value. Somebody finds you attractive and you find each other attractive. You can go out and you can go on a date. That's not necessarily friends, right? But it's a bit more than friends, obviously, but that still is very important for your social circle, to just have someone. And oftentimes, when you meet a partner, for example, this partner will take you with them into their social circle. For me, actually, in Paris, that was the easiest way for me to learn, to get to know new people, because I didn't know anybody. And the first thing I did, which we'll get to also in the dating module, I prepared so many dates before I even arrived in Paris. So I had all of these options, and most of the girls that I was dating, they brought me into their social circle, right? So there is no stigma of meeting somebody who you don't know, because you're dating. It's normalized nowadays that you just meet someone who you don't know through the dating apps, which doesn't work as smoothly if you talk about friends, right? Because there are all these questions like, why does this person want to meet me? Does this person have any bad intentions? Whereas with dating apps, more or less, it's really clear. So there's no burden on the decision, or no stigma, not as much at least. Then Discord and Reddit, I personally haven't used that. Now, I've heard a lot of people talk about it, that's why I wrote it down. Now, Discord and Reddit, I took a look at it, and Discord is maybe better because you can kind of join in a community. But the problem with Discord is it's just so, I don't know, there are so many people that are just giving no value, just so many people just hanging around, chilling in chat servers. And Discord, I know some people use it for some stuff, but I feel like Discord, you would really have to get access to the right community. And Reddit, a lot of people are anonymous. A lot of people don't give much value, honestly, when it came to networking. Because why should you just trust a stranger from the internet where you have no connection with? You don't have any reference, right? So I personally would not use Discord and Reddit. Although I would use Reddit to ask questions about the city, like, okay, what's the best dive bar in this area, right? These kind of things. This is where you can use Reddit, and where you should use Reddit, actually. So all of these apps, use them, preferably before you come to your destination. And then the goal should be that you already have options. The moment you arrive in your destination, you already have some things planned, you already have options, abundance, more or less, if it's possible. But that's how you should use apps. How do you approach people? Obviously, I hope you have watched all the other videos of this module. So you know the basics, you know how you should act, what you should avoid, etc. So what is the strategy, actually? Now, just to go around it, be approachable, fragrance, be groomed, have a good outfit, and have a good smile. These are just the basic things which make such a difference, because many people don't even apply those basics, right? So be approachable means, be confident, as we talked before, have a nice scent, have fragrance, so people like standing next to you, they like your fragrance. And sometimes that's even an icebreaker, because sometimes people will ask you if you have a good fragrance, which I do. And people always ask me what kind of fragrance I'm using. Then be groomed, be shaved, or, just have your beard in check if you have one. Your hair should be nice and clean, very important. Your outfit should be nice, and it should fit you, you know. Now, this is not a fashion video, obviously. Just take an outfit where it fits, but also where you're comfortable with, you know. You don't, it should not be too tight, and you have to be able to, you know, walk around, talk, you know. You should even be able to run, you know, just for a mental thing that you know you can move if you have to. And always smile. Not like a creep, you know, you can, you know, have like a light smile if you're talking and stuff like that. You don't have to smile like this, obviously, but have a lightness about you, have a positive lightness wherever you go. Now, when you join the social event, let's say you walk into a bar. So the minute you walk into a bar, a lot of people, what they do is, well, they look around and then they say, oh, well, first I'm going to get a drink. And then they wait to get the drink. And they tell themselves, well, I'm going to try to be social after I get my drink. And then after they get their drink, they say, okay, now I'm nervous. Okay, I'll drink this drink and then I'll be social. And then, you know what I mean? So this is especially hard in the beginning if you're not used to networking and go out alone. Obviously, with different people, it's very easy, which it will get easier as you build your social circle. But if you have the hard things in check, then everything will be easy. So we're going to tackle the hard things, which is to go out alone and network by yourself. Then, as I said, go straight to talking to people with a confident voice. So the minute you get into the bar, don't tell yourself, oh, I'm going to get a drink first. I'm going to get this first. You can get a drink first. You can get it to the bar straight, but then you have to put yourself into the boundary or put yourself to the standard where I'm going to get a drink, but I'm going to talk to people right away at the same time. So that may be, you know, you're waiting your turn to get a drink, right? Because there are many people, and then you try to pick up a conversation with the guy next to you or with the girl next to you, right? And you have to be in this constant mood of whatever you're doing, you're going from point A to point B, which may be, you know, the bathroom, or from the bar to the smoking area. Wherever you go, you should just be social all the time, you know, always engage with the people, even if it's just one sentence. You can just say, oh fuck, I like your hair, bro, or man, what a beard. Like it doesn't even matter, right? So just say confidently and get used to, you know, making comments, or, you know, even a small thing as, you know, that's already a start. It's better than nothing. So always go straight to talking to people with a confident voice, even if you're going to the bar first. And that's fine. You can get a drink, obviously. And then you can go make a comment, etc., and then, you know, there, whatever you want. And you'll see that there are a lot of friends groups, or not even friend groups, but there are a lot of circles building, obviously, you know, especially if you're in a smoking area. It's better to go to a place where people are standing, obviously, instead of where people are sitting down, because then you want to ask for a seat, you know, to sit down. It's not as natural. So always go where people are standing and where people get mixed up. Now, if you go into the circle, right, just going confidently with a smile. Now, it may be awkward, you know, so at first, for example, you would think, oh no, they're having a discussion, you know, they don't even know me, I'm just going to burst into them. Yeah, that's exactly what you're going to do. You're just going to burst into their circle, right? Don't be obnoxious, obviously, be positive, but be the guy who just joins, right? And then involve everybody. The worst thing you could do is, let's say there's a group of 5 people, right? And then you're really shy, and then you start talking to a person, the first person that you see. And then if you don't involve everybody else, then that's just awkward, because people are just asking themselves, like, who the fuck is this guy? Or who the fuck is this girl, right? So involve everybody as soon as you can, you know? Like, you know, just first you go in, you know, you make a comment like, oh, bro, where's that chain from? I've seen that somewhere. Or blah, blah, blah. Where are you from? What language were you speaking, right? And then you introduce yourself right away after the icebreaker, and then you just ask them, oh, are these your friends? Or so you can get you can get to know the relationship between those. Are these your friends? Oh yeah, there are some friends from high school. Oh, what's up, guys? I'm Nishad. Nice to meet you. Da 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 da, etc., etc. And then you can get to talking to this person, and then you can always switch it up, right? This is also a problem that a lot of people do. They get stuck at one place. You can talk to them, and then you talk to the other one, and then now you're already part of the group, right? And then you can go on. You can go on to another group, and then you can come back, blah, blah, blah. And always make those connections. Always, you have to be able to make a connection through small talk already, right? And that's much easier if you've seen more of the world. And that's why you guys have a big advantage, because you are travelers, right? So you have some stories to tell. You've been to places, so you can connect on much more. So this is what you have to do, right? Go into a social circle, go into a group of people, involve everybody, go on, add all of those groups who are in the venue to yourself, if that makes sense. And then wherever you walk around, you always have a friend, because now people know you, even if they don't know you as a person. But there's Nishad. We just met him. Here's Nishad. No, he's all right. He's all right. He's not a threat. He's not weird or creepy. And then if people see you socializing with different people, then it's also easier for them to let you into their circle. So it's a snowball effect, right? You have to start in the beginning. That's why it's so hard why it's so important to go to talking straight away and not set yourself the limit of, no, I have to be drunk first, I have to drink, because then you lose time and you miss so many opportunities. Trust me on that. So just rule number one, if you go in cold turkey, just go be social right away. No exception. All right. So, yeah, as I said, notice something about them. Whenever you're talking with somebody, you have to, especially if you're in a lot of social situations and you're doing small talk, you have to learn to notice many things about them, so you can kind of get a grasp of who they are, right? So first of all, the accent, what accent do they have, where are they from, especially English. English is easier, you can kind of guess where people are from. Then which style they have, are they wearing a suit, do they have a lot of fragrance, are they, is their hair slicked back, all of these things, you will start to judge them, not in a negative way, but judge who they may be as a person, and that will come with time when you meet many people. So, and the more people you meet, the more accurate your judgment will be, all right? Now, sometimes you even know if people have any insecurities. It's also something that you feel, right? So if somebody is a bit insecure about themselves, then you have to don't always be authentic, but you have to kind of pull it down a bit, right? So let's say if I go into a group and I'm just like, not obnoxious, but I'm coming with all of this energy, right? Everybody like, hey, what's up? I'm Nisha. Wow, nice to meet you, bro. And then I really I dab him up, and then I see that he's a bit like, oh, maybe he's an introvert, or he doesn't know how to handle situation because he's not used to having those social situations. If you then keep on talking like this with this high energy, with this dominant force, then this person will have a hard time to put off their mask, and with this person it will be harder to make a connection with, because they won't open up. So remember, people have to talk and open up in order for you to grasp something or take something that they've said and make a connection with. So try to read people, know what they are, how they are, and how you should act in front of them without obviously losing your authenticity, right? So conversation starters, as I just said, you can just come into a group like, hey, what's up, man? Like, oh, looking good, bro. Like, it doesn't really matter. It's just the way you say it, obviously. Unless you don't say anything creepy, it's really the way you say it. So just have a smile, eye contact. Always show your hands and stuff. Don't be like this. Just show your hands, or give them your hand, etc. And have a nice smile. And you don't have to smile like this, but you can just grin. Like when I'm talking to you right now, like that's a grin. That's how you should talk, right? And obviously with the hands, that's fine as well. And yeah, the conversation starter per se, I wrote conversation starters because that's what a lot of you are looking for, but actually that it doesn't really matter. You could use where are you from, or what's your business here in the city, what are you doing in Paris. That's all you need. And then from there on, you can continue the small talk, and you continue the small talk until you have enough things to grab onto, and then you go deeper into the conversation, into that subject, and that's where you connect. And as I said, don't make the mistake of being stuck to one person. Just talk to everybody. Be the guy that talks to everybody. And, as I said, even if you fuck up everything for some reason, which will never happen, obviously, but that'll be a fear with you. You will be there, you will try to talk to everyone, and then you will seem desperate, and then everybody will hate you or doesn't want to have anything to do with you. Always remember, even if that's the worst case scenario, remember, there's always new people coming in. Every time, every day there are new people coming in that you could potentially meet. So never get stuck on this one venue even, and much less on this one person. There's always somebody else, all right? So just everything together. When you come in, be put together, go straight to talking to people without any exceptions. Comment on something that, with a big grin or whatever, and then when you really want to talk to people, just go into the circle with a nice big smile. Involve everybody, don't be threatening. Learn how to read people so you can adjust your energy onto them, and then, conversation starters don't really matter. Just say something, where you're from, something where they can maybe talk about themselves a little bit, and don't make the mistake of being stuck to one person. How can you create a friends group from nothing? This is where we actually get to the stuff where you can long-term build your friends group. All up until now, it has been like, how can you actually socialize when you go to networking events, right? Or to social events. This is how you actually take all of that and really create your friend circle with that, all right? So the first thing is, you have those experiences, right? You're going out, you're meeting people. Really always go for the contacts, right? So always ask for the Instagram or number. Generally I would avoid this unless it's somebody you really made a connection with, and you really know that this person trusts you. But social media, especially Instagram, is always kind of a confirmation, that you are somebody, you're not some creep, and then you should show some of your lifestyle. Your Instagram should be in check. I mean, Instagram doesn't have to be wild, right? You don't have to be influencer. I don't think so. But look, your pictures should just be clean. They should be clean, and they should show some aspects of your lifestyle. The way you dress, where you are, what kind of hobbies you have. Maybe you're a creative, right? You should have all of that in your Instagram so that people can scroll through your profile and then think, oh yeah, that was Nishat, right? Okay. And then follow up the next day. I always follow up the next day right after evening. I was like, man, well, last night was crazy, bro. Did you get home safe? You were drunk or whatever, You can just make a comment on something you connected with, or you can also wait a few days if it was something that you both agreed to, that you're gonna write them. Like, let's say your friend or the guy said, yeah, I'm going to Rome, and then you're like, oh man, I lived in Rome. Like, let me get you some context, right? Then it's much easier. Then there's no real, it's not a real icebreaker, right? Because the icebreaker was already at a social event. So now you can wait a few days and then follow up, get them the context, and then, go from there, and then you can build the connection. Be on good rapport. I think that is actually obvious, right? But you were the social person. That means you were really the person pushing, right? So you are the guy everybody has known in the evening that, okay, he's the social guy, and he knows people as well. So that's what I mean. Talk to everybody. If people look at you and they saw you having a connection, or they having a connection with you, and then they see you somewhere else talking to somebody else, and they're like, man, who is this guy? This person knows everybody for some reason, and I had a good connection with this person. So yeah, I feel like I may want to have a person like this in my life, right? So be on good rapport, be the social guy. Then yeah, ideally have a good Instagram. And what you do now, this is so many people are afraid that nobody will come, right? That's why nobody does it, but it's actually such a cheat code. If you have all of these contacts, and keep in mind, you can do this the first evening that you come to a city. If you get all of these contacts, then write to everyone, right? Let's say you got 20 contacts even, right? So you text all of them. You text, hey, listen, we're gonna get to this place. Me and some other people are gonna go to this place, having some drinks. Do you wanna join, right? So now the person who you wanna meet, or all the people you wanna meet, it's much less stigma to go with you alone, right? So if I just met a guy who had a connection with, and then right the next day he's texting me, hey man, do you want to go for a drink? Unless there's a specific objective to have the drink, I would kind of be, I'm not sure. But if somebody would text me, hey man, you were great, like you're a cool guy, we're going out with some people, do you want to join, right? Then it's like, oh yeah, so he has a social situation in which he wants to invite me, so I'm being invited to something where he does not have to invite me, right? So you're texting that to everyone, and then the likelihood is very high. If you were that person, if you have enough leads, the likelihood is so high that some people are going to come out. Now, even if nobody comes out, then obviously nobody knows that, nobody came out. Now, if one person comes out, only one person, and they're expecting, to have a whole group, you can just say like, well, the other people should be coming soon, and then, you're with the evening, and then you can just tell them, oh man, for some reason they're not going to come. It's not a good scenario. I've never been in that scenario, but it would not be a good scenario. But as I said in the beginning, there's always new people coming in, all right? There's always new people coming in. You will not have will not have a perfect relationship with every person you encounter. So get that through your head. Like, even if you fuck it up with somebody and now they think like you're a creep where you you invited everyone, but it's just them that came, it's okay. It doesn't matter. There's always different people coming in, all right? So, exactly. So you text everyone, going to this bar, want to join, and yeah, take the risk. That's what I meant. That doesn't matter if nobody has said yes at that point. Just take the risk. Maybe nobody will show up. Maybe everybody will show up. And imagine that. Then, if the people then come, which they highly will, be the social guy. Connect the people with them. You know this person, and you know person A, you know person B. Introduce them to each other. And then introduce everybody, because then they'll make connections, and they see you as the connector, and they see you as the person who knows everybody, and they want to have you in their life as well. And then that's how they will start to step by step make a little bit of effort, to have you in their social circle, because you've already made an effort. You already given so much value by connecting the people, and they don't want to lose that value. So most of them will make an effort. Right? So obviously there's always an exchange of value, right? The value you're giving in this example, when people will see you, being the organizer and stuff, they will see the value in you as the value in networking and experiences. So meaning if they see you, they think, okay, this is a guy where I can meet a lot of new people through him, and I will have a lot of experiences through him if I get invited. So, he has so many friends. Like, why should he invite me, right? And this is where people will start to, make an effort and say, and think to themselves, okay, he's giving me so much value. What value can I give him? Okay, Nishad, he told me that he wants to go to India. Well, I actually have an uncle there. Maybe. Or what does he want to do in India? Oh yeah, he wants to do vlogs in India. Oh yeah, I have a friend actually. I could maybe my friend could show him around, because I don't want to lose this value from Nishad that he's giving me. So let me give some value back, because he's already given me value. If you get what I mean, right? And some people will not do that. That's okay, If you do that, remember that all could happen in like 2 evenings. So imagine if you do that for weeks or even months. You know how easy it is. How easy it is. You just have to put the fear away of just trying to walk somewhere, into a bar and just talk to people. But all of these things, if you implement all of these things, trust me, a whole nother world will open up to you. Business networking. So a lot of the principles that we just discussed is also applicable to business networking. You just have to change it up a little bit, especially where you're going, right? So the first, obviously the most important thing is to identify the places with high quality people. Now this is different for everyone, right? Depending on what you're looking for. Are you looking for people in a specific industry, or are you just generally looking for high net worth people? So you have to identify where that target group is. You can do that online. Obviously Reddit is a great source. You can just ask on the internet where are all the fashion people, for example, hanging out. Now fashion people specifically, that can also mean that they are in a specific dive bar, right? Because they're all students, they want to connect, just want to have some fun, drink, etc. But maybe you want to meet high net worth people. So in that case, you would need to go in a high-end club or bar where everything is really expensive. You maybe have to pay like a $50 or even up to $100 entry fee. And if those places which are really expensive are always full, then you usually know that high quality net worth people are hanging out there. Another great way, apart from online research, is also to ask locals. If you already have a connection with someone who is in your target group, obviously ask them, and you also maybe they can take you with them. But if you don't know anybody apart from online, a good way is also to ask high quality, really pretty girls, right? Really pretty girls are always getting invited into those high venues if you want to meet high net worth people, right? Or for example, if you want to get into the fashion industry, you can ask models as well, because they're hanging out at the same spots usually. So always find out where the places are. This is the most important thing, right? Then another way, if you're looking for high net worth people, is also lobbies in 5-star hotels. That means if you go into a 5-star hotel, like a real 5-star hotel, which is really big, and there are a lot of restaurants and cafes inside of the restaurant, inside of the hotel, just take your laptop with you, buy a coffee, even though it's $10-15, right? Buy a coffee, work on your laptop, and then look at who's working there as well, because oftentimes people who are staying there for business, they take their laptop and they go into the hotel, cafe, or even restaurant. Although restaurants I would avoid, because restaurants oftentimes is something private, people want to have their meal. But if they're working at the cafe, strike up a conversation. The fact that you're there, people already assume that you're staying there as well, or you know people there, and so they don't question your right to be there, if you know what I mean. And then if you strike up a conversation, you just use the principles that we discussed before. And as I said, maybe you think, oh no, but that's a high net worth person. I have to be different. No, use the same principle, strike up a conversation, do small talk, and then pick up on the things that they say during the small talk, and then go deeper, and that's how you build a connection, right? Another great way is, specifically if you're into startups, if you're trying to get into that industry, or workspaces like WeWork. I use WeWork as well sometimes. WeWork, if you don't know what that is basically a chain of workspaces all around the world. And there you always have people, working on their projects, and it's always a great way to strike up conversation, because their people are oftentimes also looking to network. So if you give them the opportunity, they will be thankful for it, and use the same principles of our networking rules. So for creatives, as I said, if you're, for example, in the fashion industry, or you're just in the art industry, you're an artist yourself, then dive bars is a great way. Art events, like, an exposition or exhibition. And exhibitions you can also look online, because these events are always, they're being advertised online, especially on Instagram. So just walk around, for example, look at a gallery, and then follow them on Instagram. If you find a gallery on Google Maps, and then you can follow all of those galleries, see who those galleries are following as well, and then you just subscribe, or you follow them, and then usually they put up on their story if there's an event, and then you just go, right? Then university bars, if you go into, as I said, like that can also be finance. If you want to get into finance and then you're looking to network with those people, oftentimes the students still go to uni bars even though they're into finance, right? And this is how you research on which places to go. There's always a way. I want you to remember that. There is always a way to find out where those places are. So never use the excuse of, my industry, they're not really going there and there. Everybody is going to some place every time. Every weekend they're visiting a bar, and if you don't try to make your research, you're missing out on all of these opportunities, right? So always identify the places with high quality people in your target industry. Where and why should you invest? Specifically, if we're talking about venues, an entry fee is always a really, really positive sign if there are a lot of people still there, even though it costs to get in. So entry fees eliminate people who don't offer you any value. That's really important. If you go into a general club there where you don't have to pay any entry fee, you'll have a mix of all kinds of people. But that's not really what you want. You don't necessarily want people to just go a place just to get drunk, right? If you go into a place like this, the chance is lower that you really find somebody who will offer you value. Now, if you're in the fashion industry, obviously, then you don't have to pay an entry fee. That's different. It really depends on your industry or where your target group is. But if you're specifically looking for high net worth people, they usually are at places where you have to pay, because then they know if it's expensive to get in, then all of the people who are in usually have money. Now, if you are in, nobody will question your specific net worth, right? They'll just know and they'll just feel, okay, you are there. You're using all of the different points. You walk around with confidence. You're very social, etc. And the fact that you're there, they will not look at you differently, if you know what I mean, right? So if you have the opportunity and you want to be around really successful people, then pay the entrance fee and pay it with a good conscience. So entry fee, always a good thing. And that's how the return on investment, the ROI, is so great. Because you pay $50, right? You might pay $50 to $100, but imagine if it's just one contact. Let's say you're in the marketing industry, right? And you're looking for a big ticket client. Now, if you meet somebody who maybe maybe they have a startup, but maybe also they have a big successful clothing company, then the fact that you're there, they will also listen to you and be interested in you. Now, if you make the connection with them, as I said, with small talk, and you try to make a connection and pick up on what they said, then you can offer value and you can offer them your services even, maybe, right? So in that case, the $100 is nothing, because if you have a high ticket client, then maybe he'll pay you $100,000 for a job because they have so much money, right? Ideally. Or even if it's like $5,000 or $10, whatever you consider to be a big sum, the return on investment is so high, because if you use all of those networking principles, you'll find someone, or at least you'll find some leads. And then if you have a connection with that person and you say what you're doing, then there's also a high likelihood, a high chance that this person will reference you to someone else, which could be potential clients. So don't be scared of an entry fee. If you make the most out of it, usually it always pays off, and that's why the ROI is so high. If we're doing business networking, how do you specifically connect on a personal level while also not forgetting the business aspect of it? The first thing you need to think to yourself, or you need to know, is what value do you bring to the venue. Specifically in business, it's what services or what do you have to offer in the context of business. For example, if you're into marketing, then you need to know what I bring to the table is marketing. I'm a specialist in marketing, and I want to look for clients, high ticket clients that make me money through my services. What you have to then know, or what you need to know how to do, is to present yourself very briefly with the most important information, right? In the marketing aspect, you don't, if somebody asks, if you start a conversation and they ask you, oh, what do you do? Then don't talk about, oh yeah, I live in this place and I did my studies first and then I moved here and I blah blah blah. And what I basically do is, for a lot of firms, I do marketing from blah, blah, blah. That's way too long. It's so boring. Just if they ask you, oh, what do you do? Just say, oh yeah, I specialize in marketing for clothing companies or whatever it is, right? And just so they know it, now they know who you are. And then you can continue to make the personal connections with all of the other principles that we just looked at. But here it's really, really important that they know what you do and what offer you, of what services you offer. All right. With the name, if you have a complicated name, then it's always good to tell them your nickname, right? Because in some cultures they have really long names, and then if you tell them in English, even with my name is Nishad, right? And oftentimes they don't hear it correctly. So they might say, oh, Nishat, or whatever. And I don't want to have that conversation to explain to them what my name is. So in my case, I often say, oh yeah, my name is Nishi. So that's much easier to understand. It doesn't really matter if later on you tell them, oh yeah, my full name is Nishad. Just Nishi is my nickname, right? That doesn't really matter. What is important though is in your socials, somewhere you need to have your nickname in there. Because if they would only search for Nishi later on, let's say I didn't have my contacts, I didn't share my contacts for some reason, but they were still interested and they're looking me up on Instagram. Nishi, if they only search that, but I don't have that name anywhere in my bio, for example, then they won't find me. And that could already be a loss of leads or a potential customer or a potential partner. So put it into your bio if you choose to use a nickname, or even use it as your Instagram handle. Just be searchable through your nickname. Then be a good listener, let them talk, get personal with them. They always talk about business and stuff, and it would be refreshing if you talk about personal things, right? You try to connect with them on a personal level, just as we used in the other marketing principles, and then try to get into business as well, but let them talk, ask questions, and then go deeper into some subjects during the small talks. During the small talk here, that's really important in business. Who are they? Who are they? What are their wants, and what is their worldview, right? So who are they? What do they do? Is there a potential problem that I can solve? Do they have any problems? What are their wants? What are their wants generally in life? Are they someone who just is a workaholic, for example? Do they just want to work 80 hours a week and they're looking for work, or they're looking for new projects? Or is it somebody who, for example, is working a lot but would wish to have much more time on his hands and wants to automate some parts of his business, maybe marketing, that springs into your mind. And what is their worldview? Is their worldview that everybody should work all the time, for example? Or is their worldview that we should value spirituality, or we should value our commitment to our religion, whatever it is? Because if you know who they are, what are their wants, and what is their worldview, you can look for gaps on which problems you can solve. So always talk with them on a personal level. Get personal, because that's how you really know where you may be able to solve a problem. And even if in business, if you already have that personal connection, the likelihood already, the bar is already raised on what if they want to employ you, or if they want you to solve a problem. So what is the problem you can solve? That's what you need to ask yourself. And can you create a problem? So if, for example, somebody works 40 hours a week, right? And then you talk to them, and then you know that their worldview is that you need to spend a lot of time with your family, right? But they want to work because they want to provide a lot for their family. Now, they may not think that they have a problem, but you can create a problem. During the small talks or during the discussion you have, it's like, oh yeah, man, I'm working a lot as well, and I know how important time with my family is. But I try to automate things now. I have a lot of time. I don't lose a lot of money. The ROI is so high because I just spend the birthday. I just spent a weekend with my son. It was his 5th birthday, and man, I'm so grateful because even though I want to provide for my family, all of the time I'm spending on my business, man, it's not worth it. It's much better to spend time with my family. So if that is their worldview as well, so you can connect on that level, and then they may ask you, oh, how did you automate it? And then you can say, well, sales and marketing, that took like 50% of my time. So that's how I automated it. I have a system, or I have a team that does that for me. And then you already made an offer without trying to pitch your offer, right? So you saw the problem, and then you kind of created the problem because you made a proposition of you actually have a problem because you're not spending enough time with your family, and you could spend more time with your family while even making more money or not losing as much money. So they were like, oh yeah, that's right, that's a problem because I could spend more time with my family. And then you just created a problem in their mind. Then always positive social energy, or the same thing, you talk to everybody straight away, and then you build your group. And generally that's basically the thing with every aspect in life, right? But specifically in business, because business, you need to be respected, and it's much easier to be respected if you are already somebody who has accomplished a lot. The best thing is be in peak physical condition, because that's the first impression everybody has of you. If you have a peak physical condition, then what do they think about you? You're active, you're disciplined, you're healthy, and you have a lot of energy when you want to do something, right? But also general things like knowledge, read a lot, constantly learn new languages, because those are all valuable variables that add to your value. And if you have much more value, all of the networking things become so much easier, and when time goes on, you have to put in a lot less effort, right, to make those connections, because you already have so much value that people want to give you value because they already think that you're giving value, right? So all of these things are really important, whilst also implementing all of the general networking strategies and also the networking strategies on how to build your own social circle. Just tweak those things, and then you'll be on your way to build a business network.